animations and stuff like that.
Cool. So let's get started. So if everybody has this link open, click Get Started, and we'll go on from there. And just to make sure, can you guys respond in the chat so we know that you guys are ready to move on? And can Trevor Sanj, can you tell me if they're ready? Because I can't see the chat.
Sorry.
Okay, great, awesome. Real quickly, I just want to go over why Fusion 360 is really important to use and why we're going to use it a lot. Fusion 360 is a CADing software that we use to, which we will start using to CAD the robot and have a pretty much a simulation of the robot that we will be building. CADing is very important. We learned that throughout the year. When you CAD, you find mistakes that will appear when you are actually building, and you can fix these mistakes before you actually start wasting materials, time, and money like we did last year. So the entire point of CADing is to quicken the amount of time it takes to build a robot, and also to have like an overview what the robot would look like, and if you want to add new features or any parts to it before you start modifying the actual robot physically in real life. So you guys should all be at the Get Started page, and you should see a set up your profile for education, and just fill all this stuff out, and then I'll wait for you guys to get to that.
I'm pretty sure you're good to go on this.
Okay. Okay. Next step is to fill out your information. For your email, make sure it is a school email, as this is what allows you to get an education license. If you are not a student, you have a student. If you have like a child that has an email, use their email to sign up, and it should work. Are we all good here, or do we need a few more?
Yeah, you can move on. I think most people are from Teams, so they might already have Fusion.
Okay.
I would go quick.
And then you'll be getting a verification email to the email that you entered. And at this point, you should be getting this. You need to verify your email, and this will, unless you receive spam, uncheck the box before it is clicking done. Once you do this, you should get an email actually to sign back in. So once you sign in, it will ask you to get started. Make sure to click Get Started. Then go to the information button, which should have your information all filled out. In this case, it says try again, but you should say something different, such as confirm or continue. And then at this point, you need to go to the additional documentation needed, and this is where you would put your student ID or a transcript, like your grades. The most recent transcript is the one that they require. This is just to make sure that you are verified as an actual student or a qualified educational institution. And there would be a place where you could drag documents or images. This is where you would just upload anything. So if your school uses any physical IDs, take a picture of that, upload it to this. Or if your school uses a digital transcript, take a screenshot of that, upload it to here, and then click next. And then it would take around, okay, so this is where it takes, it's a bit sketchy, but I got my email around 5 minutes after I confirmed it. It could take you up to a week. Sometimes it's gone up to a month for some people, but that's just because Fusion gets flooded at sometimes with people signing up at the same time. it should be sent to you in at least a minute to a week from now. So I'd wait for that. But based on the fact that most of you are probably on a team and probably used CAD, you're probably have Fusion, and this is all just um, refreshing for you, like stuff you've already done. And now once you go back to the link, it should say that you're having educational access to Autodesk, and this is valid throughout like to a certain time period. And I think that's pretty much how to get a student ID. But then at that point, you need the actual app. And to do that, you just go to the Fusion 360 box, click product, and then access. And then this should download the installer and then let it open and run so you can install Fusion 360. And then once you open Fusion 360, it's going to prompt you to sign in with the email you registered. So that would be your school email and the password you set. And then it should welcome you to the program. And then at that point, you are in Fusion and you can start using Fusion to CAD or mess around with. That's pretty much just how to get a Fusion 360 license. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and our mod should be able to answer these questions. Additionally, I just want to say that we're not going to go over anything in detail about Fusion today, so like how to do things, but I'm just going to go over a few basics such as moving and what are different features in Fusion. And this will be recorded so that later on, if anybody wants to use this or set up a Fusion 360 account, you can access this later. Honestly, at this point, I just want to ask you guys to look at Fusion, see get a feel of the app. But right now, I'm just going to tell you the basics like real quickly so that after this live stream, you can mess around with Fusion 360. Okay, let me just go to Fusion. Awesome. Okay, so I'll create a. Let's go to. Okay. So this is Fusion. You won't have any of these parts on your screen when you open Fusion. This is just me messing around with it earlier today. Pretty much Fusion is very simple. Like the basics of Fusion is pretty easy to use. So here you can see at the bottom, this is your main movement panel. So right now I can orbit. Actually, I think the first thing it'll ask you to do is choose a plane. You can choose whatever plane you want to work on. I'd probably choose I believe it's the X plane or the X or the flat. I don't remember what it says on the top of my mind, but it's the one that's a flat surface like this. And now we're just going to go over a few movement ideas. So here on the top right, we have a box which you might have seen in other softwares like CADing software such as Tinkercad. This is how you could move. Personally, I feel that that's a bit annoying. I'd rather use the orbit. It locks in place to where it orbits around this point you've chosen, and you can move much more easier with your mouse. And additionally, if you have a mouse, please use a mouse while using Fusion. You will struggle if you're using a trackpad or a laptop touchscreen. Then we have pan, which just lets you pan across the screen. That's pretty basic. These are just moving and around Fusion. And then I'm gonna go over a bit of creating shapes. It's actually not too difficult. It might seem like a lot at first, but honestly, it's pretty simple. So you go to Create tab right up here on the top left, click the drop down, and then here you can choose shapes that you can create. I'll just start with the basic box, and it'll ask you which plane do you want to build on, and I'll just select this one for now. Second, I believe the box did not render in properly. Perfect. And now you click onto a point on the grid, and then just drag until you meet the requirements that you want, and then just click the second point, and that should create a box. And at that point, you can mess around with the box. You can make it longer. You can make it taller. You can shrink it. You can change the sizes through these number tabs that pop up. And pretty much you can do whatever you want with this box at this point. This is what you would use to like, these shapes are not really going to be used by a Fusion 3 FTC team, preferably because you will not be using shapes like these. You'll probably be using pre-built CADed parts that are you can find on the homepage or the website of a company such as Rev or GoBuilda. I can quickly talk about that too, because as you can see here, these are the parts that you would use on a, these are the parts of a physical robot. As you can see, I can move these parts around, and this is a beam, a structure beam that we would use to build a robot. Then we have a motor here to actually motor any wheels or any servos or whatnot we have. So as you can see here, I have a Rev Robotics folder, and this is something I did on my own time to build, but it's pretty much a repository of all Rev parts. So I can go into any part of this. So for example, motion, and I can go into motors, and then I can choose a DC motor, and I can choose this motor, which will input this into my project, and I can mess around with it and do whatever. I can move it, expand it, whatever I want, and then click enter, and it'll be imported into the project. When you're importing a part into an existing project, make sure to click to right click and say insert into current drawing or into current design, or else it will override the original piece that's already in there. After that, really you can see how the different parts of a motor are built. You can pull them apart, see all the little parts inside of the motor. I can move this so you can see it better. Looks like my stream is frozen. Okay, here we go. So as you can see all different parts of the motor, and that's really the cool thing about all these parts that are already CADed. You can really get a feel to see what these parts are made of, and what else this motor can do, right? So at this point, I would just say mess around with Fusion in terms of creating shapes. All these parts and stuff, we'll get into the next live stream about how to get them into CAD and all those things. But I think that's it for this part of the